Welcome again, dear seekers of truth and light. In this video, we'll be covering two missteps or two spiritual crimes by Mr. John Newbrough. And part 3 will cover Newbrough canceling the publication of Oahspe. And part 4 will be covering the suppression of originally channeled text by Newbrough that was in Oahspe. Both of these are kind of never discussed. I mean, the reason being that family and the cult lodges and churches Newbrough founded, they've done a really good job of covering up what really happened. And it's only been through the research of people like Jim Dennon and and some other writers out there, and myself as well, who are willing to look at the actual research, the actual statements made by John Newbrough, which can be found in newspapers and so on. Anyway, once again, I have to keep restating this, but I think Oahspe was a wonderful New Age book with great truths about how the heavens, angelic heavens, are organized, and how the process of resurrection takes place through our own efforts to do good unto others, through purifying our thoughts and seeking to work together in the light in various ways. And I commend everyone who's doing this kind of thing. There's a lot of great people who never read Oahspe and love one another and sacrifice for one another and are basically living their lives according to the direct inspiration from the Creator. Of course, people who read Oahspe too are doing some very good things too. Maybe, however, or I shouldn't say maybe, definitely because of Newbrough's misdirections on how to seek salvation through his cult churches and cult lodges, a lot of people have become confused and have treated Oahspe like a religion itself, and they've treated Newbrough as if he was a great prophet like Jesus or Muhammad or something. And that's certainly not the case at all. Okay, well, anyway, the purpose of these videos is to set people's minds free and not follow the lead of John Newbrough's Masonic style approach to the book, and not look up to him in any way. In fact, they should just look at Oahspe as a very good how-to manual written by the angels as far as how to live a life that's in attunement with the Creator of the universe. Okay, let's get right into it. Part 3, canceling the publication of Oahspe. This is from the Banner of Light, the Psychic Medium journal from the 1800s. This one's from January 21st, 1882, and it's entitled Dr. John Newbrough. And I just put one sentence here from that. For 50 weeks this continued, that is, according to Newbrough, his channeling of Oahspe. For 50 weeks this continued every morning, half an hour or so before sunrise, and then it ceased, and I was told to read and to publish the book Oahspe. So Newbrough has been directly told to publish the book. Of course, anybody, or I should say anyone who was able to channel this book, obviously has a divine mission and a divine responsibility to get the information out here, to get the great truths of Oahspe out into the world. And Newbrough did this. He did publish it eventually, and I'm going to have a lot of complaints about the actual state of the book when he published it, and what he put into the book and what he kept out. But my complaints are not because I'm just a mean old person and wants to be the center of attention. It's because whatever the truths are in Oahspe, we can live them better, we can understand the book more easily, and more people will actually be attracted to understand its truths if we just get Newbrough out of the way and how he poisoned a lot of the movement that is called faithism. I cannot believe this book was channeled by Newbrough, as was shown in part 1 of this series, because he has 5 different ways to describe how he channeled it. And there's other reasons too, but at any rate, I put this text not because I think anyone ever told Newbrough to publish the book. I think he simply found it or stole it. But I just want to get the idea out there that certainly whoever did channel it and got it through the angelic inspiration, the intent of the angels in the higher heavens was that the book should be published. Okay. Okay. In the next article, this is from the Evening Star, and the article is called Oahspe, the New Bible. It was published in 1882 on November 1st. And as I've said before, this is one of the accounts that has different information. The book said the doctor was begun and finished inside of 2 years. 2 years less 2 weeks. It was composed and put on a paper in half-hour spells every morning, immediately or soon after sunrise, with the use of a typewriter. Okay, in this account, it says that almost 2 years, maybe like 102 weeks. At the end of the 2 years, all but 2 weeks, the communications ceased altogether, and he was commanded to collect the sheets and make a book and give it to the world. Okay, so again, the point being here, I'm just emphasizing that the book was channeled so it could be published and so people could benefit from its high spiritual information. Again, but there's contradictions all through it, so really no one ever told Newbrough to do anything because he never channeled the book, he never talked to any angels, and in fact, Newbrough in one of his accounts says no angels even approached him. All he did was say, it came into my head to start the purification. So anyway, but I want these 2 articles to be noted because we should understand that because the book was channeled, the higher heavens intended that the book be published. This next article is from 1990, titled Oahspe and the History of Oahspe by the great Jim Denon, and he published this in the Cosmic Voice 111. I will read it. In 1881, John Newbrough first commissioned John Lant to produce printing plates from the unaltered first version of Oahspe as transcribed from the higher heavens. The Lant proof sheets were printed off 500 plates which were made in 1881 but never used in the published Oahspe in 1882. The 1882 first printing of Oahspe was not the first version of the book. The very first plates were made during the year of 1881 from the original manuscript of Oahspe. These plates were made by Dr. Newbrough's printer friend John A. Lant in New York City. Concerning this, Jim Denon states, Dr. Newbrough informed Lant that after writing near a whole work of Oahspe, he destroyed it and began over again. Okay, so this is really strange. So supposedly this John Newbrough had been training himself for 10 years. Can you imagine training yourself 10 years to channel this book? And then it took a year, or maybe it took 2 years, depending on which version of lies you want to believe. And so he spent a lot of time getting this book here. And it wasn't just, something that was put out by any ordinary person. It was presented as being inspired by the angels of the higher resurrection, second resurrection, ordained probably directly by the Creator. And so you would think whoever got this book wouldn't say to themselves, I think I'm going to cancel the publication, and I'm just going to start the whole thing all over again. I'm going to destroy it and just begin all over again. This is an unbelievable turn of events. This is another strong portion of evidence that Newbrough did not channel this book. He did not prepare 10 years for this great spiritual task of channeling and then to publish the book Oahspe. No one in their right mind would say, well, I guess I'm going to just cancel the whole thing. There's no logical reason for this to take place, okay? And he's even doing this through his friend, who I'm sure probably gave him a fairly good price for making the plates and for printing of the book itself. So at any rate, Lance stopped, and we know because we have a lot of these plates, we know that several things. That the Oahspe Lant plates, many of them did not match the actual published version, the first published edition which was on January 1st, 1882. So there's a big problem there. What Newbrough actually tells Lant is also very problematic. He said he destroyed Oahspe. Wow. How? Why? Like, what was he going to do? Just channel the whole thing from memory again? Or did the angel suddenly tell him, you know what, you should destroy this book? Obviously, you got 900,000 pages of Oahspe. You're not going to destroy it. This is simply Newbrough. And he said, I'm going to begin again. Just start again, because maybe he'll get a better result. This is a total a lie, a very serious, bald-faced falsehood. And it's ridiculous. We have a long history of Newbrough's association with Oahspe being a series of lies and misrepresentations, because he was not purified. He never got purified, and he did a lot of things. There's worse things that he did than this, although this is pretty close to being one of the worst things. Anyway, he did not publish Oahspe as the originally channeled book, which was not by Newbrough but by someone else, and he stopped. And you might ask, well, why? Why did he do it? Well, that's really a difficult question to answer. But I think we can make an induction, a conclusion of some kind, by saying that John Newbrough, the longtime 33rd level Mason, simply was inspired, maybe a little late, by his dark associate spirits to take the book and not just publish it and get all the fame and glory, which is what he was seeking anyway, and the power over some kind of cult. The purpose was to change the book to make it more easily turned into an avenue for indoctrination and cult control, and to take out the portions which he didn't particularly think would help him in that. Okay. So anyway, what is not indisputable is that Newbrough lied. He didn't destroy it, because there's no way he's going to reproduce it if he did. And mainly because he never channeled in the first place. So this was a total lie, and this is a really strong sign that Newbrough is not anything but kind of a spiritual criminal of some kind, a flim-flam artist. Okay, something's wrong, really wrong, when you do this, because if this book was all that it is, which it is, a divine work, then you wouldn't say to yourself, you know what, I'm going to change it, or I'm going to lie about it and not get it published as soon as possible. I mean, Newbrough could have just told that, you know what, I don't want to publish it yet. I can get a better deal. I can get a cheaper deal somewhere else. I mean, he didn't have to say that he destroyed it. I mean, that's very weird. And I think it just goes back to Newbrough always wanting to keep his crime secret. And so he lies to keep things secret. And he just feels rightly most of the time, and no one can find out what happened. But we have the plates, because Lant wisely kept the plates that he had made, the printing plates. We know a lot of what Newbrough didn't put in. And okay, that's part 3. Let's go to part 4, the suppression of original Oahspe manuscript material. So another thing, I mean, the angels did have someone channel Oahspe. It wasn't John Newbrough for all the reasons, all the logical reasons already stated. So, but at any rate, whatever was channeled, it isn't like this channeling took place so that somebody could just arbitrarily decide to suppress some of it, to not make it known to the world. That doesn't make any sense at all. It defeats the purpose of divine inspiration to say, well, we're going to just let some guy publish what he wants. And a lot of people say, well, Newbrough published it, that means he was part of the angelic plan. No, not at all. All sorts of terrible things happen which is not what the angels would prefer to happen. I mean, you have like an innocent child who's created and people snuff its life out. And that's not what the angels wanted. Okay? The child was pure and good, and people attacked the child, and it wasn't what the angels wanted, but it happened anyway, because everyone has free will. People have a free will to do terrible things, and Newbrough was using his free will to do something dark and evil. And more than one thing. Okay, well, in this case, it wasn't just lying about that he channeled it, and it wasn't that he just stopped the publication, at least temporarily. He stopped it because he wanted to change the content of Oahspe. He wanted to put Masonic rites in it, and justification for having priests, which is totally against Oahspe's core principles, where each person seeks direct communication with the Creator. Anyway, the book we're talking about is Saphah. Let's just see what he suppressed. Okay, anyway, this article is called Dr. Newbrough's Oahspe, New York Times, 1882, October 21st. This was his first announcement of the book, Oahspe, to the world. And I'm just pointing out that in this version, Newbrough continues work for a year, not 2 years, as he said in the article, lacking 2 weeks. So in this case, it was 50 weeks. In the earlier case, Newbrough stated it took 102 weeks. So that's a contradiction. Anyway, he says, I could not read it, for the light would not let me, he said, and I do not know the contents of the book. And I did not know the contents of the book until it was ready for type. Okay, so the book's there. It should be published. The next article I'd like to consider is called Impressions Regarding Oahspe by Dr. B.L. Setlinsky. This is also in the Banner of Light, published in 1883, May 12th. And this is a summary of what had happened. Setlinsky had been working with Newbrough, so a close confederate with Oahspe since its publication. In this article, Setlinsky says, it was only at the end of the said period of time, 50 weeks, that Newbrough was ordered by the same invisible intelligence to gather the written materials together and publish them in the order in which they had been produced, without any changes whatsoever, and thus Oahspe came to light. So that's an important phrase. To publish, to gather the written materials together and publish them in the order in which they had produced, without any changes whatsoever. This is what Newbrough told his colleagues in the spiritualism circles, maybe what you could call maybe the first faithists. And I don't believe anybody told him to do that, because I don't believe he ever channeled it. However, even Newbrough puts himself in a corner with a lie. He says there shouldn't be any changes. Okay? I think he said this because, of course, any divine inspiration, you wouldn't want to be telling people, you know what, I changed them. I just decided to change. I know the angels and the Creator had this inspiration for this grand, glorious book of the New Age, But you know what? I decided to change it. I took things in. I took things out. I put things in. I did it myself. No one wants to hear that, okay? But what the people do want to hear, they want the confirmation that you didn't change any of the text, that it was the same as it was channeled, because that would make people feel, well, it's more likely to be communicating the truth about the universe. And so, of course, this is why Newbrough put out that lie that he didn't make any changes. Okay, well, another lie, and we know it's a lie because we have Lance plates that he kept, and those are very different from what is in the published version of Oahspe. So Newbrough did make changes. Of course, Newbrough did not channel the work, but he still made the lie that he didn't make any changes. But Newbrough did go ahead and make changes, and that's what the part 4 is about, the suppression of the original Oahspe material. If you have no idea about this, well, let me go through what was changed. Okay, the following texts, about 83 pages in total, were never published in the 1882 first edition of Oahspe. Instead, Newbrough cut them out or suppressed their inclusion from the start. They were never in that edition. Okay. All right, here they are. The Book of Zemers, 3 pages. I'll be explaining what each book contained with a sample later. But the Book of Discipline, 16 pages. The Book of Knowledge, 30 pages. The Book of Oranathan, 6 pages. Tree of Language, 1 page. Speech, 1 page. Pan, the Primeval Tongue, 2 pages. Agatu, 1 page. Half of Bond's Book of Praise, approximately 12 pages, were not published. Book of the Prophet, 11 pages. First up, the Book of Zemers. This was published not put in Oahspe. The interesting thing is, though, Newbrough took some of the texts that he didn't publish, were not published in the original first version, but they were published later. A little bit was published, a portion of these books were published in the 1889 second edition, which he and Holland put out, okay? But other parts of the text were published either through the lodges indirectly and kept secret, or they were actually published in his New Orleans journal called The Castaway, a period of time where Newbrough was gathering orphans and basically trying to sort of get like a campaign going for getting children to Shalam, his New Age colony. Well, anyway, he published parts of the text in that. He also published another sort of advertising pamphlet called A Sketch of Faithist, A Sketch of a Faithist, which is basically a bunch of his ideas about how he saw the path of Oahspe to be. And in this one pamphlet, he published what was called the Book of Zemers. And I'll read a portion of it. It's basically prayers of praise, not so very different from Bond's Book of Praise. It's often been used in his cult lodges, cult churches, as a kind of prayer that appears in, that could be sung or chanted at various points in their rituals. Anyway, let me read one right now. How shall I laud thee, my Creator, who shall be my God forever? Because thy wisdom showed me the folly of worshiping the spirits of the dead, and of bowing down in adoration and fear before the idolatrous gods of warriors, and gave to my senses things that would appease me, and give great joy. Above all things on earth and in the heavens above, thou, Jehovah, shalt be my theme. Glory be to thee, Jehovah, almighty and everlasting, Creator, time without end. Okay, so that's an example of one of the prayer songs, chants that's in the Book of Zemers. I would like to point out that in a later section, I will show evidence where I have utilized authorship software, which compares Newbrough's published writings of books that he wrote, which had nothing to do with faithism at all, and with the books of Oahspe, and even the unpublished books of Oahspe. And according to linguistic software Clarin, the Book of Zemers goes along with the originally channeled works. Not everything in Oahspe is that case, such as Saphah. Those were shown to be written by Newbrough. Anyway, that'll be another video, not in this one, but I just want to make the point that these unpublished texts were proven by scientific software analysis, authorship software, to have been written by the same authors that channeled the book of Oahspe in the first place. The Book of Discipline. This was published a few years later in 1889. It's hard to say why it wasn't put in the first place. I think the Book of Discipline is very strong in teaching people to think for themselves, which is probably what a cult leader would not want. But maybe to create a buzz, create some excitement, the 1889 edition included it. Again, Newbrough made a decision not to put it in. It's like, why? If you really channel it, why? Well, he feels he's like a thief that stole something and said, well, it's mine now, I can do whatever I want. Okay, it's certainly a spiritual wrong to suppress a divinely inspired text. Anyway, the book's long, I agree. I mean, that's kind of the argument. Well, it was too long, and we didn't want... He was trying to make the book shorter. Yeah, but it's 16 pages, you know. I think altogether it's maybe 80. I mean, what's the difference? You have a 940 page book, and you have 1,000. It's going to be big either way. You're just talking about a couple percentage points higher in total number of pages. So you might as well publish the whole thing, since it was divinely inspired. But if you didn't even channel in the first place, then I guess you would feel very free to do whatever you wanted, because thieves feel like they can do whatever they want with what they stole. Let me read this passage. I call a people unto me and my kingdom. Happiness proclaim I as a result of right doing and good works. Whoever do these are one with me in the framing of words. To be one with Jehovah, this is godliness. To be one with thy God, the way is open to all men. To be organic for love and good works, this is like the fraternities in heaven. Whoever striveth for this hath my authority already. His words in time shall become one with me and my works. To improve thyself in these holy things is to discipline thyself, to become a glory to thy Creator. Let any who will say, thus saith Jehovah, or thus saith Jehovah, or thus say I. Truth expounded shall never die. The discrepancy from truth is short-lived. Improve thyself, O man, to be sincere in thyself and in all thou doest, and when thou hast attained this, thy words shall be with power. Okay, so right doing, good works, and seeking the truth, very good things, and certainly they should have been in the first edition in the first place. Okay, next, the Book of Knowledge, 30 pages. This is interesting because the Book of Ben is very similar to this, and of course this is from Lance Plates, and I have undertaken the task of trying to put both the Book of Ben and the Book of Knowledge together, and it works pretty well. Um, again, some of the words. The only reason I can see from doing is that some things were controversial, such as speaking out against abortion and kind of the end of the world passage where civilization falls and destroys itself, kind of. That's one of the predictions of Oahspe, and that the New Age communities will spring up in the absence of our societies that have become corrupted. Anyway, here's a portion. It is good. Jehovah is omnipotent over all. He, by his almighty command, came they. There are books he bestoweth upon the generations of men, but when they are of no more use to man, behold, he taketh them away and giveth instead that which is suited to the progress of the world. Be wise and remember thy Creator all the days of thy life. Be thou one with him, and thou shalt live forever. Okay, very powerful ideas. Things change, but the Creator is always there to uplift us if we seek to do his will and be one with the Creator. Okay, next part. This is from the unpublished Saphah. So I'm not saying that Newbrough's Saphah, well, I'm not saying that there wasn't an original Saphah. There was an original Saphah that was channeled. Saphah in Hebrew means like mouth. It's basically kind of a symbol for language. But Newbrough put a lot of stuff that was garbage in Saphah, such as the Masonic style rites, and again, we'll get to that point where we look at just how anti-Oahspe those verses are, but we're not going to get into that yet. Okay, I will read it. China, India, Europe, and America, the four branches of the earth, languages from one root. What was the tree and where grew it? That none can find it. Where lieth the submerged continent, the forgotten world? Whence escaped the struggling mortals to float to far-off continents and tell the tale in all lands of a mighty flood? The Book of Aranathan, also in Lance, not published printing plates. It's a pretty good book. Let me read it. Whether you say Brahma, Brahma, or Buddha, Buddha, or Christ, Christ, doing so in reverence to the Almighty, our Creator, practicing good works with all your wisdom and strength, therein do I proclaim your good deeds in heaven. For all these are the Father's buildings to bring his children into ultimate resurrection for joy and glory within his kingdoms. For all these are the Father's buildings to bring his children into ultimate resurrection for joy and glory within his kingdoms. Therefore, I come not to take from you any of your gods or saviors, nor to abridge your field of righteousness, but rather to show you a greater glory in comprehending all of them in the plan of the Almighty, to reach the different peoples in all parts of the earth, pleading with you to be charitable to one another and more comprehensive in your judgment, putting away egotism in professing amongst yourselves that such of you alone were a favorite of Jehovah. So basically, we're all one family, and let's not get hung up on the name we use for the Creator. Very, very wise points. I won't read a lot of the rest because you could stop the video and just read them yourself. The text is here. But here's an unpublished portion of Saphah. This was intended to be the beginning. You'd think Newbrough would put it in. It's actually a pretty cool passage. It certainly wasn't, it's so small. There's no reason not to put it in. At some point, he just wanted his Saphah parts in, I guess. This one's called Speech, and again, it was taken out. It's pretty cool, actually, the evolution of language and how deviation of language around the world is part of the plan of raising civilizations. Next, Agatu. This also wasn't published. Yeah, I guess I'll read it. Go not back to the ancients, O my beloved, nor seal up your souls, that Elin may enter and give you light. Know ye that words are but idols and graven images? What they will not hear, and the S that is in them cries out with bondage. And I send the burning flame and burn their books into ashes, for I will deliver them from the bondage of the ancients. So that's a pretty key passage. Newbrough wanted bondage from the ancients. Masons want that. They want you to go head over heels and pause on every word of whatever's from the Egyptians or from secret society rites that are based on rituals from the Egyptians or witches or wherever they got it from the Middle East. They think that's a good way to keep men and women under control. But this person says, nah, you better not do that. You better just move on. And again, actually, a lot of the lodges, the actual symbols and words are studied and meditated upon rather than meditating with the Creator. It's like, well, it's like that's the only, too much stress on that for sure. So Newbrough wanted control through these symbols and Saphah and his rites. This part said, don't do that. And so that's probably why Newbrough cut it. No, it is why Newbrough cut it. Okay, next, Book of the Prophet. This is taken from The Castaway, and it's 11 pages, and it's pretty good. And again, this was shown by the software, authorship software to be in the original channel portions of Oahspe. But the same rules shall apply unto all. Till thou art purged of all earthly things, desires, and wishes, then the next world will be to thee as a sealed book. Neither shalt thou interpret heavenly things according to this prophet or that. Heaven is wider than man can invent. Yea, the heavens that belong to the earth only, and travel with the earth, are mighty beyond the comprehension of any man. But even these are but the lower heavens. No prophet can see but one little corner compared to the majesty of Jehovah's creations. So anyway, this is advocating for everyone to develop their spiritual senses to see indirectly, subjectively, or objectively what goes on in the heavens, and possibly that could be a kind of astral travel, or just like a long-term, long-range spiritual vision you can develop to hear and see what goes on. And basically, this book's saying, yeah, you should try to do it. Not that you're going to discover everything. You're not going to become like omniscient or anything, and you're probably going to make mistakes, but you should try. You need to learn. You need to try to seek learning from the spiritual realms. But the realms are so big that you're only able, in your lifetime, you probably only get to see a very small portion, but even that small portion is valuable, and you should attempt to share that knowledge with others and to seek such knowledge from others yourself. And then Pan the Primeval Tongue, again, more from Saphah that wasn't published. And I'll let you read that on your own. Again, Newbrough did not act like someone who had channeled Oahspe as if he valued the divine inspiration. I know there's some people say, oh, he was given permission to do this. He had the right to do it. How? Why? How can you say that? You can't prove that that's the case. I mean, the angels are very highly intelligent beings. They wouldn't say, we're just going to give the book to Mr. John Newbrough, and he can do what he wants. Doesn't make any sense. I mean, if it was channeled, then it should have been published, and that's really the point I'm making. But the lodges and cults are always trying to protect him, and so they just make stuff up. So they can't explain any rationale for why he should be given permission to just keep things in or out, or even put stuff that was never in the first place. So they just make up this falsehood that, Newbrough had permission to do this. Yeah, we know that's the case. And then other people repeat the lie, and then just repeating the lie doesn't make it true. So just think for yourself. Obviously, all these texts are of value, and each person should make up their own mind. I'm not saying that everything in Oahspe is true. I'm saying I think almost all of it's true, but not everything is, and everyone has the right to read the book or not to read the book and decide if they do read it, They have a right to decide which parts have truth or value to themselves. But no one should decide that for them. Let each person read Oahspe in its entirety and make their own decisions. They shouldn't be reading what Newbrough personally wrote to rig the conversation about the spiritual path of Oahspe, and they shouldn't be denied the opportunity to read what he suppressed. So suppressing the truth, not a good thing. Newbrough did it. I'm sure he did a lot of good things in his life, but he certainly did a lot of bad things from the time he pretended to channel this book and suppress it, alter the Oahspe, mess around with his followers in ways which caused a lot of pain and financial loss for them. Anyway, that's all for today. No matter, and I still would say you can still read Oahspe in its present condition, and you're going to get a lot out of it. But the problem is a lot of people are still going to be deceived by what's not in it and what shouldn't be in it. And I'll say it again. When people take a look at Saphah, they think it's witchcraft, and they won't even read it, or it's satanic. So, and it is to a degree, or high degree. So my goal is to make Oahspe more accessible by taking out the lies and faults that Newbrough put in, and to put in some of the good that he took out, because that's the way it should be. That's what the angels intended. That's what the Creator intended. So anyway, you can still read Oahspe. I just want it to be more accessible to everyone, and you might as well read what the original version was as close as possible, okay? There's no sense reading what Newbrough wrote, what he thought. I mean, you wouldn't want me to do that. You wouldn't want anybody to do that. Let's just read what it is and let people judge for themselves with how much is true and how much they can use for their own life. Anyway, thank you for listening, and much love and happiness to all and wisdom. Thank you